Okay, just a couple of words about being a goal setter. We need to come up with some ways for children to develop their own intrinsic motivation for reading. And I do want to preface the goal setting with saying this to you. For some children, they probably have not read anything since March. So I don't know that in the first couple of weeks I would really hold their feet to the fire where they have to be reading, you know, specifically in their zone of proximal development, and that you're, kind of really monitoring the level of text that they're reading. They just need to get into the habit of reading, just to get books back in their hands, whether they're digital or whether they're hard copies, just getting them, back into print again. And for some kids, that might be nonfiction because some children are just more interested in nonfiction. And if it means they're just kind of going through and gathering information here or there, whatever it takes just to get them back in the pool of reading, so to speak. And then we can really begin to work on this goal setting within our zone of proximal development. So when it's time to talk about goal setting, this information is for you, and you can talk about how you may or may not want to present this to the children. But keep in mind, this is according to their level, how many books they should read within a week. I know this is not the first time you've seen this information, but I do think it's a good reminder. If you have a caregiver or parent sessions, I think this is something you really need to talk to them about. So when kids are getting prepared for their virtual learning and for Readers Workshop, and they know that to be prepared means that you have your books and everything readily available, whether it's an online source or whether it's the hard copy, everything's ready to go. So when we move into that independent reading, we don't have to go find it. It's there. And if you're going to, eventually hold their feet to the fire, so to speak, for this number of text per week, then you really want to make sure that you're including that reading log so that they can track the number of books that they are reading. Now, one of the things that I would suggest that you start with is just making this fun, but showing them a way to either use an online timer or some type of timer where they set the timer for 10 minutes. You can do this as a class or they can do it independently, however you want to work it. But have them set the timer for 10 minutes and then they read. As soon as the timer goes off, have them stop it. Now, I would not tell them the first time why you're doing that. Just tell them to stop. Once they stop, then they can go back and count the number of pages, because what they want to do is to see how many pages they're reading in 10 minutes. Now, what you could do is have them do that over a 5-day period. Turn it into a math lesson on how we determine the average of pages each person is reading on their own in 10 minutes. And then let them use that as their starting point for their graph. Here's how many pages I'm reading right now in 10 minutes. So how many pages could I read in 20 minutes? And let them bump it up to 20 minutes to see if they're meeting that number of pages. That's one thing you could do. Another thing you could do is just, say if I'm reading this number of pages in 10 minutes, then how many pages could I read in 15 minutes? Then maybe how many pages could I read in 20 minutes? About 2 months into school after doing this, I would probably go back again to that 10-minute timer just to see if they notice that the number of pages that they're able to read in that amount of time has increased since their first checkup at the beginning of the year. Now, we don't want them to get in their minds that it's all about the reading voice and all they're doing is just reading to get a number of pages in a certain amount of time. That's not the goal. The goal is we also have to be thinking as we are reading, but it's just kind of a way to spy on ourselves to see about how much we're reading so we can begin to set some goals. Maybe this is not what you want to do. Maybe what you want to do is to say, this is the number of books I'd like to see you read in a week. So maybe they choose their goal for that week, how many books they're going to read to see if they meet that goal. you guys are good at these types of things. You know that you can turn any of this into graphs that will help them see their progress grow. But we really need to drive home that intrinsic motivation to increase our volume of reading, because that is so very important. So anything that you can come up with to help them intrinsically be motivated and set these goals. You know, I don't think it's about the bells and the whistles and the, you know, the rewards. It needs to be more of a personal. I would encourage you to try to make it more of a personal um, reward, so that they feel good about it when they meet the goals that they've set for themselves.